everyone, and thanks for being with me. One of the things that I guess really gets under my skin is the fact that the right wing can have a shot at Albanese and those in government, but will not accept the failings at all in any form, in any shape, in relation to Dutton and his crew of henchmen. And I'm here, though, to be able to tell you that I'm going to make a stand against this dick, and I'm going to talk about him in the most denigrating way that I can, because no one seems to do this. No one seems to confront the actual issues that are espoused by the people on the right, particularly Sky News. What really frustrates me is that none of the mainstream media take up any of these issues. Now, I do celebrate mainstream media who just report facts. I think that's fabulous. And actually, I don't have a problem with the ABC because that's what they tend to do. Don't watch any of the other channels. Don't give us stuff. Don't care what they do, I think. But basically, Sky News in particular is the right-wing media, along with the Murdoch press, of which they are part, that go out confronting anything that sits to the left of where they are. And so they are completely inundated with notions around wokeness, whatever that might mean. I am just grateful that there are many of us who are awake, because on the other side, on the right side, there are a lot of people who are asleep and who just simply want their conservative values recognised, and they're praying and hoping that those values will be understood, that people will think, well, we are greater than what the other side are, without, and this is what amazes me, without offering anything, and I do mean anything of substance, to be able to make life better for you and for I. And while the Labor Party are at least working towards making things better, and I appreciate that things are tough right now, that prices are going up because of inflation, over which the government doesn't have all that much control, I hasten to add. I do believe they could be doing more. They could be certainly making sure that Coles, Woolworths and other supermarket stores keep their price low, not just over Christmas, but during this period while there's a high inflation. And I believe they could be doing far more around asylum seekers and making sure that those people that should be in our community are welcomed into our community, as opposed to the other side, which tends to demonise them continually. But there's a push at the moment to be able to, and there's many other issues too, I hasten to add, which I don't necessarily agree with. AUKUS is one of them, and certainly some of the efforts made around climate change and oil. I can go on. There are many things I don't agree with that the left are doing either, that is the government. And there's much more that can be done. But then again, I think, well, we need to give credit where credit is due, because there are things that are being done that are positive. I'm going to run through some of them. There's a really interesting an AIM article, I think, on the things that Albanese has done that have been really important, some of the things he could be doing better at. But what I want to talk about today primarily is my concern that there's all this rhetoric from the right wing coming. I've got a stack of examples to demonstrate this to you, and that we need to be mindful that this barrage of crap that's coming from the right wing isn't necessarily helpful to us, to all of us, no matter where we sit politically. It's not constructive. It's not meaningful in terms of making life better. In fact, it is about demonising others. It's about constructing a sense of disunity, disharmony, even hatred in our community, so that at the end of the day, you will be pitted against me against you, because simply of our belief system, race, religious background, ethnicity, and where we come from in terms of whether we're rich, wealthy or poor. So part of getting this level playing field whereby we're all fighting for the same things, where we all can have a voice, is quite a struggle. But when you're being bombarded from the right wing continually about how terrible the people are that they don't like, then, at some point someone's got to take a stand. So this seems a bit hypocritical for me, because I'm about to have a go at Dutton big time. I've just put out a video where I basically called him a dick. But someone's got to push back, because we can't let them continually get away with it. Doesn't mean we have to do the same things that they do. No, we don't. But can we call them out for it and become aware of it? Yes, it can. Yes, we can. And one of the things that I think is really concerning me at the moment is the hold that Murdoch has in our media landscape, particularly in relation to social media, press media, and also, of course, through Sky News. I think it's terrible, and I think we need to call it out for what it is, which is actually an attempt to be able to construct society in Murdoch's image. And there are a whole lot of other people that are falling into this category, and some of them you're about to see in just a minute. So here's Sky News discussing how weak Albo is. And this is the thing. At the moment, they've got their knickers in a knot because a group of people were interviewed. And when I say a focus group of people of about maybe 10, who knows, but not very many. And out of that came some comments in relation to Albanese being a beta male, whatever that is. Because I can tell you now, I prefer to be a beta male than an alpha male, a dickhead who is misogynist, who just does all the male shit that males tend to do, and who refuses to defend the rights of others, particularly women. So, and I prefer to be someone who's empathetic, for God's sake, rather than this version of the alpha male which doesn't give a shit about anybody, that's got a six-pack, works out all day, doesn't give a crap about who other people are in their lives, and destroys their relationships along the way. Don't want to be that male, never have wanted to be that male. And if the opposite of that is a beta male, I'm all for it. So I see it as a compliment in a way, even though they're meaning it as something negative about Anthony Albanese. Here's the video.
We are seeing, of course, the pattern that any politician in power hates, which is a different version of the same story every few days, which is having a look at the frustration people have with...
I just love the way he has Kroger on. Now, Kroger used to be president of the Liberal Party in Victoria, I think, and is as conservative as they come. Then they have Conroy, this guy in the middle, who used to be a Labor bloke but is bloody passive, to say the least. He tries to find some pathway to walk between whatever Murray's saying and whatever Kroger's saying. And then there's this woman who was with the Labor Party but now is with One Nation. It is the most interesting mix of people I think I've ever seen.
Your failures. Now, Redbridge, very interestingly, and again, to me, centre-left polling start to say that, they think that there should be action on cost of living this side of Christmas, because if they wait to the other side of Christmas to actually change some of the fundamentals of how the government's working, then it might be too late. Now, I think that, again, when you've got the media on side, when you've got people that are deeply invested in you staying in power, then I think that the task is always easier for the Labor Party to change the subject than it is for the Libs. But what do you think?
Yeah. Well, mate, what's been very clear in the last few months is that Albanese is the easy rider. He's an easy rider Prime Minister. He's good when times are good. He's good when decisions are easy, which is why the coalition is saying he's a weak leader.
I actually am quite fascinated with this idea that things are easy. So here Kroger talks about things like increasing people's wages, and he talks about all these things that the Labor Party have done, which he thinks are easy. But when he talks about this, I want to remind you that the Liberal Party voted against all of these things that he's about to talk about.
Leader. He supports an increase in wages for the low paid. He supports increases wages for aged care workers. We're not objecting to that, but examples of easy decisions. He supports increases in wages for other workers,
Yeah, you
more,
guys
more
don't
benefits
support
from the
them, but
childcare
they're
sector,
easy.
etc., etc. Now there's an inquiry into the supermarket pricing. Well, he's in favour of that. IR changes in the Senate. Oh, he's in favour of that. So where he's spending other people's money, he's very, he's very supportive of all those things. But on the other side of the line, and Prime Ministers have to deal with very hard issues, not just the easy ones.
I love that comment, when he spends other people's money. I don't know what government isn't spending other people's money, because they depend on taxes, which is our money. So whose money does he think that they're spending? I do wonder about that. But, it is Kroger, so who knows what in the hell he thinks.
On the hard issues, this bloke is not up to the job. Hopeless on The Voice, right? The hardest thing he's had to do is sell The Voice, disaster. And where are we on the Makarrata Commission, truth-telling and treaty? No one's got any idea.
So, what I love the way is that this guy's then decided to go to a issue which Albanese clearly lost for varying reasons, and some of those reasons I can understand. But this is not, for Indigenous people it was devastating, get all of that. But it wasn't one of those issues which is going to change generally everybody's life around energy prices and climate change and all these other issues that will impact us. It's not one of those primary type issues, as important as it was. So I'm not trying to minimise it all. I wished it had gone through for Indigenous people, primarily, obviously. But it is one of those issues. But so he went to that straight away, because for the right, this is the part where the Labor Party have failed. They've failed because they lost this referendum. And I wonder, what would they be thinking and saying if the referendum hadn't taken place? What would they be talking about this time? Well, I tell you what they'd be talking about. It would be this.
Every time the left talk, they invert the language. They switch the language around. So this, Rita and James mentioned this disgraceful labelling of Peter Dutton as someone who protects pedophiles or whatever. Completely disgraceful. When it is Labor's policies, Labor's inaction, James, Labor's complete mishandling of the NZYQ case. This is this bloke who they've allowed to be released thanks to the High Court. They were never prepared.
Now, at this particular point, when I didn't have that on the screen. This is the dude that who's just talking about all these things that the Labor Party now are calling Peter Dutton, which is, in my view, quite justifiable when one looks at this photo. So this is Peter Dutton at George Pell's funeral, and supporting, in fact, and wrote a letter in terms of his court case for this particular man who it was alleged, and who gives a shit now, happy to say, a pedophile. Yet, Peter Dutton, and no one seems to raise this particular issue, So is it justifiable in saying that Peter Dutton is a supporter of pedophiles? I reckon, based on his support of George Pell, that's a reasonable statement to make. Let me know. Let me know what you think around that.
For it, the entire Albanese strategy was based on The Voice. He's a one-trick pony. Right from day one, it was The Voice. The Voice was going to carry him through to the...
I don't know if you noticed the theme here about The Voice, as I just said earlier, but they're onto it. This is the thing. Had he not had The Voice, I do wonder. They would have been aching for something to happen around asylum seekers, and it did.
The next election, he'd be a great hero of the left.
But also,
when The Voice went down, as we said on this show, that was the end of Albanese. All the other commentators, every other commentator said, oh, no. That's going to have nothing to do with the next election. People will have forgotten by it. Rubbish. Had completely trashed Albanese. It's completely undermined the self-confidence of the Labor Party. They're all running around like headless chooks with no policies, James, and mistake after mistake after mistake, which is...
We're going to highlight for you in a moment all the policies, because that's bullshit. Absolute, unadulterated, excreted bullshit that they're saying that they didn't have any... What I think needs to be noted here is that the reality is that there are no policies coming from the other side. That there's this continual now, because because they don't have any policies, because they're against everything that the Labor government does, they've now chosen to just continually and perpetually attack them. And so I just want to play this one, which is Bernardi. And I think this is quite interesting.
The price of free renewable energy is smashing our household and our business budgets. The power bills are...
The point I want to make about this Cory Bernardi video is that he doesn't talk about things as if they are conspiracy theories, so he doesn't call them conspiracy theories. But, and I'm going to play all of this because it's bloody boring as shit, but he does talk about some things which are actually conspiracy theories. And to think that someone of his influence and his power, it turns out he's on screen news, however much power that is, this is something that he focuses on, which is cost of living, green energy, nuclear, I think, and a few other things he touches upon. We probably won't do all of that because he's just a waste of space.
Are starting to arrive, and there has been a massive jump in prices. Just this week, I got my home electricity account, and while the consumption remained virtually identical, the cost nearly doubled.
I think he should probably change his supplier.
Make no mistake, that is a direct result of government policies that have undermined our competitive economic advantage, which has always been cheap and reliable power. And it's just one of the reasons Australia is sliding backwards.
I can just hear at this point the oil producers, the coal producers, the gas producers. I can hear ching ching as this money is flowing to Cory Bernardi from them for promoting and advertising and marketing their marketing strategy, because that's really what this is all about.
We barely make anything here anymore. Manufacturing is simply unaffordable, which in turn makes us uncompetitive. And of course, I understand it's not just power prices that are doing this, but they are a significant contributor. We've also got high wages, low productivity, business has been strangled by red, green and black tape.
I just need to make this one particular point, and that is that the reasons why there have been such high wages has because of you guys, you Cory Bernardi and you wankers on the right who have chosen to keep those prices, keep the wages high. Keep the wages low, because your belief is that if the wages price increase, people will probably spend money on things which perhaps they shouldn't, and inflation would increase, and the whole marketplace would blow up if people had more money. That's not true, but that's what they believe. So they is peddling this shit, which really has been a focus of the right wing for over 10 years now, and that is that we can't give poor people more money. We can't improve benefits for poor people. We can't, and this is an issue which really I had a problem with, was that we can't increase wages for those people working in allied health. And now, and I've been an allied health worker for 30 years, and I can tell you that the wages weren't all that good. Incredibly important work. But the Albanese government has increased wages, obviously, for healthcare workers working in aged care facilities. So they've done something, right? But you bastards would never do anything in this area whatsoever, because you're just, well, they're tight.
There's even a new bureaucratic tape that's now been identified. It's called blue tape. That's the restrictions and burdens placed on our businesses by the international outfits like the United...
This is it. So this is where he starts naming United Nations, World Health Organisations. Once he does this, he's heading down the world of conspiracy theories, where the belief is that these are the people that govern everything. It's untrue, it's a fallacy, it's a conspiracy theory. Now, he's couching it in a sense of reasonableness, but it isn't. It is simply a conspiracy
Nations,
theory.
the World Health Organization, the OECD and the World Economic Forum. A cabal of globalists who are treated as deities by our unthinking political class. Remember, these are the mobs that push for mass migration, open borders to economic refugees, universal basic income, in centralised power and authority.
Yes, he's right. They are pushing for that. Well, I'm pushing for that. Universal basic income, damn good idea. Glad you raised it. I'm sure everybody would be far better off if basically everybody had just a reasonable income to live on, and the rich paid what they needed to pay in terms of taxes and benefits, and that we've got rid of this notion that in order to be successful, you need to be bloody greedy. So what do you think of all of that? I know it's been quite a rant, so if there's anything here that you want to challenge me over, please do so. I'll get back to you, as I've done with some people over recent days. Let me know what you think, and also remember to take care of yourself, look after yourself, and more importantly, be safe.